What makes for a good ending in an RPG? That's the question I bring to you today, and I kind of wanted to hear your opinion on that. And I have, in my perspective, two different opposite sides to endings of RPGs. And I have my personal preference, and but I still like games from both sides. So, first off, before I say anything, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, any game, don't worry, it's all gonna be fine. You can tell me your favorite ending for any game, just, it's fine. But I wanted to touch on a very important distinction between what endings in RPGs have that endings in other mediums don't. And that is player agency. Player agency basically is the effect you as a player have on the ending or on the story, and it doesn't need to be an RPG. And RPGs don't need to have that, but it's still an important aspect to touch and discuss. So what you'll have in RPGs basically sometimes, and this is one of the sides of RPGs, and I know a lot of you know a lot of the games that I've played over the last couple of years here on the channel, so I'm gonna talk about them, but still I'm gonna make an effort to explain my point if you don't know the endings. So I have, for example, on one side Morrowind, Baldur's Gate 2, and let's say those two, Morrowind and Baldur's Gate 2. So what actually happens in the endings of those two games? You're presented with a struggle all throughout the game. You have a villain, or you have a problem that you need to discover or understand, or you have a thing that you need to get, or whatever. It's something that you play all through the game knowing that you need to do this. And then halfway through the game something happens and your perspective changes, or you're given a different place to go to look for the villain, for example in Baldur's Gate 2, and all that, but at the end you know what the ending is gonna be. And the stuff around the ending, like your choices throughout the game, whether you're good or evil, whether you have helped these faction or that, who you killed or what happened, that is gonna be secondary to the ending. Still gonna be very important to your character, sure, and it's still gonna be very important to your experience as a player, but it's gonna be secondary to the ending. And then on the other side, you have endings, for example, like Vampire Bloodlines. It's a good example, or Deus Ex, the original one. Or, yeah, let's go with those two, because I want to mention Fallout 1 and 2 in a little bit. Those endings in Vampire Bloodlines or in Deus Ex are more directly dependent on your choices, but only choices that are given to you after you know what you're doing. So here, what you'll have is more of a solution to a problem that is presented to you throughout the game, and then you need to decide the solution for the problem. I personally feel that Vampire Bloodlines does it better than Deus Ex, because Deus Ex is very close to the ending of the game. It's like 20 minutes from the end of the game, and you can replay just those two, or even just watch the endings, just because in the game folder. And Vampire Bloodlines, it's before you get a big conversation before you do the final section of the game, final chapter, and I find that's really good. Another game that really does that very well, I find, is Mask of the Betrayer, and it's just a fantastic game. But in those two games, you have an ending that you decide. So that's, for me, two opposite ends. An ending that's games here that are kind of a lot of decisions that build into your character, and then at the end they all funnel into an ending for the game, for a story that the creators built, and then you can give it meaning depending on what your character was. For example, in Baldur's Gate you can be really evil and seek vengeance, or you can be really good and just seek justice, or whatever. And that's the meaning that you give to the ending. And then on the other side you have just actually different endings for different characters and for different choices. So which one of these two do you prefer? I find that there's a middle point there that kind of is a little bit hazy, and that middle point is Fallout 1 and 2. I feel that I've always, over the years, watched or regarded those two games, and those two games' endings in particular, as always something that I really enjoy watching, and it's really rewarding. And I never really figured why until I started actually to think about it, and I think I know why it is. So what happens in Fallout 1 and 2 is that you're given a struggle all through the game. You need to look for a water chip or a gek, and then halfway through the game something happens, and it's basically the same story structure, and then you need to look for this and kill this guy or kill this faction or whatever. So it's presented as, both games present their main plot as something that's very pressing, something that you actually need to worry about, and everything else that happens along the way is kind of you just trying to figure out what the world is giving you, and you know, just as with many RPGs, it's not really that much difference. But the ending, I find that that's really something that encompasses more than that, because it joins something from this side of the field here, from Baldur's Gate and from Morrowind, and something from this side of the field, from, well, kind of a lot of games that are not even RPGs, which is the multiple ending sort of thing. Which is what what Fallout 1 and 2 do, is that they give you a main ending for your struggle. An ending that only kind of happens because that was your objective. That's the story the game was trying to tell you. And it's not very twisty. There's no plot twists. There's no anything. The plot twist happens halfway through the game, because that serves as a refreshment of your, as it were, main objective. So you're looking for a MacGuffin. Sure, fine. Halfway through the game, something else happens. And it's like a different quest. And that's good. It's simple. It's direct. It forces you forward, and it gives a direction to your character. And that happens actually in a lot of games and in a lot of fictions, it's not just games. But then the ending, what Fallout 1 and 2 really deliver on, is actually telling you many different endings that are either expected or not about all the effects that you have in the world. There's a caveat to this. Caveat? Whatever. There's a but to this whole thing. And that but is called Arcanum of Steamworks and Magica Obscura. And I don't know why. I can't figure it out. It follows the same exact structure as Fallout 1 and 2. But I have a theory about that. So if you've never finished Fallout 1 and 2 or Arcanum Obscura, basically I just explained what the endings are. You just, you know, go to this city and do something, and then at the end of the game you're gonna know what happened to that city because of your actions. Or if you didn't do anything, then it's gonna give you another ending. And if you did this in one city and this in the other, maybe the ghouls are gonna invade and they're gonna rebuild Vault City, who knows? But in Arcanum, what happens is exactly the same, but the main story isn't. And I can't understand why I don't think the ending of Arcanum is so good. What happens with Arcanum is, you're not actually given a very fulcral point from the beginning of the game. It's more of a mystery. You are given a ring by a dying gnome at the beginning of the game, and you need to figure out what is that ring, what is going on. And the game is very well written. I found that the ending villain, that shouldn't even exist really, that is maybe not even a villain depending on your perspective, of Arcanum, is so well written. It's such an interesting idea that I find it's a waste that it wasn't made into a game. Because it's not. It's just the ending. It's just made into the ending of the game, and I find that it's wasted. If they made something like Baldur's Gate, where you know John Irenicus, Baldur's Gate 2, where you know John Irenicus from the beginning and are looking for him for different reasons all throughout the game, and it can be just your reasons or it can be the reasons that the game presents to you, it doesn't matter, but you're still looking for him, that's your point, that's the point of the game. If they made it into something that is more tangible from the beginning, that you can make theories on from the beginning, and less of a journey of discovery, I think the ending of Arcanum would be better. And the ending of Arcanum basically ends up with you just finding the solution of a story. It's a very interesting story, but you don't actually have agency on the main one, I find. You have agency at the end, you can make a decision at the end, after you understand the whole thing, but it doesn't feel satisfying. So, for those of you that know Arcanum, I'm sure this might make sense. For those of you that don't, I apologize if I ramble a little bit. It's tricky to talk about endings without spoiling anything. I just wanted to know what your favorite ending is, or what your favorite type of ending is. Because I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been trying to figure out if it's possible to do something like Darklands does. Darklands, I've never played the game, I have seen half a Let's Play, and I have read a lot about that, but Darklands is a 1992 game, I believe, that just has multiple main quests. And it's kind of something that is so hard to achieve, and especially for that time, that it really hasn't been done since. It has, but it really hasn't. Well, it's tricky to talk about, but Darklands is a game that just lets you go towards whatever you want to do, and it builds the world in a way that really forces you to have a different perspective. The Age of Decadence has a kind of similar kind of similar. It's not really, but kind of by design, it is the same sort of the same sort of thing. It's just you can approach the same situation from different angles, and in that way you can build multiple storylines, because they are really multiple storylines. And I've been trying to figure out how to make sure an ending for such a game can be rewarding without just simply going with a formula of the ending. The player wants to kill this guy, he kills that guy, that's the ending. The player wants to figure out what's happening to this, it's a very big mystery, the player solves it, ending. You know what I mean? So yeah, give me your opinions down below, and answer me that question if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for things that are to come. So I just wanted to touch briefly on a thing that I'm doing with Starcraft and with Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and I wanted your opinion because I kind of don't know if this is gonna work very well. So what I'm trying to do, I think I touched on this before, what I'm trying to do with those two games is I want to have one sort of slot for those. So what I'll do is I have played the first campaign of Heroes of Might and Magic 3, there are 6 campaigns, and I have played the first campaign of Starcraft, one after the other. And then after the first campaign of Starcraft, I'm gonna do the second campaign of Heroes of Might and Magic 3, then the second campaign of Starcraft, and on and on like that. So let me know if you find that that's a reasonable approach, if you have a problem with that, if you want me to run both games at the same time. I don't want to have I already have too many games running at the same time. I have everything under control. And as you guys know, it's all down to how many likes one gets. So if Baldur's Gate, if Battle Brothers, for example, has 20 likes in one video, and Silent Storm only has 5, then I guess there's gonna be like 4 episodes of Battle Brothers for each one episode of Silent Storms. And this is more or less like that, but Starcraft, I'm actively stopping the series to let something happens for Hero of Might and Magic 3, and then stopping that series and all that sort of stuff. So the ending of Starcraft should be coming halfway through this week, the ending of the first campaign of Starcraft. I find that, oh man, that game is so good. I have a few considerations to make about that ending. I made it on the episode. So yeah, if you like Starcraft, or if you want to just know my, it's not really that much, but yeah, you might want to tune into that. But yeah, let me know if you find that that's a reasonable solution. Thank you very much. So this week, no RPGs came out. So what I've been watching this week has actually been a lot of stuff. There's channels that I follow that have been releasing more and more videos, and I'm really enjoying that. I've talked about them here in the weekend updates a little bit in the past. I've been watching a video that I have a link for you up there that is called How Does a Boomerang Work? And that's a very interesting video by a fantastic, brilliant channel that you might want to check it out. It's called Veritasium. Actually, there's 3 channels to that. There's Veritasium 2 and there's Veritasium 3. I think that's how it goes. But the main one is where it gets most of the videos. It's an interesting video. And the reason why I've been looking at that video, you might already know why that is if you know a little bit of me, but if you don't, I'm gonna explain. Now, there's another video that I am also gonna put that I've been watching this week called Sherlock Sucks, or Sherlock is Garbage. I don't have the videos, the link here, but it's up there, so if you want to check it out. Sherlock, the BBC series, is terrible, and here's why. And that is by a channel that I also enjoy a lot, called H Bomber Guy 86 or something like that, and it made me think about something that I just want to touch on briefly, which is why it's so hard to notice when something sucks. And I'm one of those people that started watching Heroes back in the day and dropped halfway through. And the same happened to me in Sherlock. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes a lot. Actually enjoyed the first episode a lot. I found that the show was witty and interesting, and it really presented Sherlock in a way that I hadn't seen before, because he really conveyed and really showed that he was really smart, or at least it seemed to be that way. And then I watched a few, you know, as the episodes came out and all that, and then I kind of stopped watching halfway through season 3. And I never really thought of that. Why was that? Why did I stop? And that video that I linked to you up there explains why that was, kind of. Not really. But what really shows me is that people who really stick with a show, it slowly with shows that turn. What I mean is, why do you stick with shows that turn bad over the years? Heroes is a good example of that, I suppose. Unless you disagree, in which case, feel free to disagree, it's fine, but I really didn't watch past season 3, I think. But Sherlock, what I feel that really misses is delivering on promises, and that's what the video makes the point of all through the video, is that there's a lot of promises that never get delivered. So if you enjoy the first episodes, doesn't mean you will enjoy the continuation of that. But what happens if you really want it to be good? Like I wanted Heroes to be good. The first series was interesting, was promising, and then it didn't deliver on that promise. And Sherlock is the same. Why don't people stop watching series? Well, I know why. It's an investment. It's an investment when you watch a series. You want to know the ending. And the writers know that as well. I don't care what they come up with. Give me something that makes sense. Don't invent stuff just for the sake of it. Don't put time travel in it anyway. Did they put time travel in Sherlock? Oh my god, they did. They didn't. Did they? Anyway, yeah, just wanted to mention those two things. And as every week, I want to thank you very, very much for watching, for supporting me, for commenting, for liking, for all this sort of stuff, but especially for those of you that have gone out of your way to support me monetarily on Patreon. I got the link for you up there. And thank you very, very much if you are one of my patrons. And as I said last week, if you pledge just $1 a month, you can get early access to the videos that I record earlier. So I've been uploading there. There's Battle Brothers and there's Expeditions Viking that I have pre-recorded. I will also be uploading Legends of Grimrock that I have a few of episodes pre-recorded. So yeah, I've been trying to get settled into the rhythm. So if you're one of my patrons and you haven't pledged, not pledged, well, you haven't updated your pledge to have the new patron tier, feel free to do that and check my Patreon page anytime for all the links and all that sort of stuff that is there, all the videos and all that. So those of you that are supporting me there, thank you very much. That's Benji, Namik Noor, Rob Anybody, Robert Daffern, Casper KJ Jorgensen, Jordan Kozart, Paul Bible, Joshua A. Ennis, Michael Grayson, Grigory Krasikov, sorry, it's a Krasikov. Thank you very much for supporting me, Grigory Krasikov. I said it wrong again. And the Mad Larkin, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for supporting me, and I hope you were enjoying the early views of the videos. This week I want to end with a quote from one of my favorite writers of all time. Unfortunately, I can say that I am a very bookophile? What's the word for a person that reads a lot? That. I am not that. I do read, but one of my favorite authors, probably one of the favorites of many people, J.R.R. Tolkien, he's got a quote that goes like this: "So comes snow after fire, and even dragons have their ending." I think that's so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Why did I say bye? What's wrong with me? Bye! That was a high five. That's what it was.